All right, we're back. Let's dive into 2025 predictions, forecast. This is our crystal ball. It's all we could afford is a Sprouts purified water bottle filled with water, obviously, because it's crystalline.
It's worth its weight in water.
It's worth its weight in water. Actually, I'm going to drink some of it. But yeah, 2025 predictions, forecast. Do you want to kick off talking about loan limits since that's already happened in 2025, beginning of the year?
Absolutely. So when it comes to conforming loan limits, that conforming loan limit adjusted from 766,550 all the way to 806,500, which is amazing. When it comes to FHA loan limits went up to 524, up from 498 off the top of my head, which is amazing. It helps. It's very helpful when you have these, all these different options, and you're not worried about having to get into jumbo loans or maybe just looking into a first and second. Obviously, VA is different, where it's there's not necessarily a loan limit on VA. It just depends on multiple things. When it comes to credit picture, things of that nature, where there isn't necessarily a loan limit. One of the things that I think is amazing, obviously, is there's so much information and misinformation that's going on in the world today when it comes to what's going on with interest rates. And one of the things that I do want to be really clear about when it comes to forecasting is the Fed funds rate and mortgage interest rates are not the same thing, okay? But what the Federal Reserve does and says does influence the bond market that mortgage-backed securities follow.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things that came about is the Federal Reserve monitors or has two main responsibilities. One is price stability. The other one is max employment opportunity for all. They have a dual mandate. What did we see this year? We saw inflation go up ever so slightly above what they were expecting. But we also saw unemployment go above what they had projected in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
At the most recent meeting with Jerome Powell in his press conference, he said, hey, we previously had predicted we were going to do 4 Fed fund rate cuts for 2025. Well, now we're projecting 2. But here's the thing, is what they always say is they are data dependent, meaning they can predict, hey, we're going to do 4, we're going to do two, but every single month new data comes out, whether it's the inflation report or the jobs report. So they have their dual mandate. They are taking in incoming data as it comes in. And so obviously, as I just kind of talked through a little bit, hey, mortgage-backed securities do pay attention to what the Federal Reserve is doing, right? Because it's the bond market. And there is that dual mandate. So if unemployment goes up too high, the Fed has to do different things to stimulate the economy, which the way that the Fed can do that is by bringing interest rates down, right? If inflation goes down to such a low level, well, that's not good either. So the Fed always says that their target is 2%. But the other thing that sometimes can skew their data is the value of their reports and of it is, okay, when it comes to inflation, what makes up 43% of the inflation component?
Housing, right?
Shelter. Yep.
Yeah.
And shelter lags substantially.
Oh, yeah.
So when you have, say, when you're looking at real data, real current data when it comes to rents, for example, they have not gone up. However, it makes such a big component of inflation, it looks like it is. So obviously at some point, that will catch up, whether it's today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, that will catch up. But the other thing that has been very skewed is the jobs market, is unemployment. Because you get, for example, even today, the JOLTS report came out. Job openings and labor statistics came out. Well, tomorrow the ADP jobs report comes out. And on Friday, the BLS jobs report's going to come out. And these all three have very different information. But one of the things that they are taking into high consideration when it comes to the jobs reports is a lot of the jobs that they're counting are part-time jobs. But the other thing that the JOLTS report that came out today takes into consideration is job postings that are posted in different states for things like remote positions. So you have one job that's a remote position, but you're hiring anybody in the United States. There's a different job posting for all 50 states.
Oh,
so that
yeah.
one job has been
And
counted
sometimes-
50 times.
Yeah.
And the things that to me,
The data's not
yeah.
the greatest.
But the thing to me that is really going to lead to lower interest rates this year, which I'm gonna, I'll make my hot take for my prediction.
Yeah. Rates will go down.
I believe that rates are going to go down. I believe that we're going to see conventional, and this is my own prediction. You can't quote me on this.
I've got a couple
Yeah.
takes in here from experts, but I want to hear yours first, and then I'll
Alright,
share
mine
what
is-
the experts are saying.
I'm going to say on conventional loans, I would say we're going to see high fives, and I would say
by the end of the year.
by the end of the
Q4?
year. At some point this year, we're going to see high fives.
Nice.
I would
that
say
would be
on
ideal.
VA and FHA, we're going to see lower to mid fives. And here's why. There's a lot of different things that are in these job reports or unemployment reports. I don't think that inflation is the key to lower rates. I do believe that it is unemployment. And what we're seeing today is the amount of people who are working multiple jobs is at the highest point in history.
Just to survive.
Absolutely. And the other thing as well is the amount of people that are staying at their job, meaning, job stayers. When the economy is doing really well and booming, you see people taking better opportunities, right? When things are going really well in the economy, people take a higher paying position with a different company and they move on and they get more money. Well, when that percentage of people staying is at the highest point that it's ever been at, they're not leaving. The jobs market's weak. There aren't better opportunities, or they know that they're lucky to have their job. They're not going to leave their job. So I do believe that unemployment is going to be the pathway to lower interest rates. I do believe that we're going to be seeing lower interest rates. Will we ever see interest rates in the twos, in the threes?
Probably not.
That was a huge mistake.
Well, unless there's another catastrophic event,
Absolutely.
war,
Barring, and I hope that
like
doesn't
something
happen.
like that. Yeah, same.
But even we're still dealing with the repercussions from what they did during that time. And one of my fears is when it comes to the Fed making their decisions, they are always way behind the curve. So when it came to inflation, they called it transitory.
Yeah.
And then they realized they're behind the curve. They raised the Fed funds rate at the fastest pace in history. And my concern is going to be, hey, they're going to be behind the curve again.
Yeah.
But I think that you can't see in front of you when you're too busy looking in the rearview mirror. That's something that they are absolutely doing.
It's a great take. All right. So what I've got here, I asked AI, because we're in this AI swing of things now, what the experts are predicting, and then it took all the data I could find online, and it spit this out. It said experts are predicting that rates will stabilize around 5.7 to 5.8%.
Okay.
But then I saw another post from Keeping Current Matters on Instagram, mortgage rate projections. They took data from Fannie Mae, MBA, which I don't know what that is.
Mortgage Bankers Association.
Oh, okay. So from them and from Wells, and then they took an average of all three, and they predicted by Q4 it would be at 6.3%. So maybe that's going into Q4 at 6.3, because they broke it down 30-year fixed rate. Average of all three, Q1 was at 6.62, Q2 at 6.45, Q3 at 6.32, and Q4 at 6.3. I feel like that's a very conservative projections.
Well, and I think that the truth of it is that they're never right, and it's just it's a moving target, right? Because there is so many different things that do play a role in interest rates.
Yeah. So I think one thing we can predict is that the volatility is going to continue.
Yep, absolutely. They're going to go two directions, man. Up and down.
Yep.
Up and down.
So we've seen a lot of volatility since, gosh, what was it, May of 22? When they
yes, sir.
when they just started going up that roller coaster, going up.
Yeah,
And
I don't even think that we.
haven't made it back down to the station yet.
I think it was pretty amazing because I don't even think we touched 4%. I think we just skipped over the 4s entirely.
I think so, yeah.
I
It
don't
was
remember,
like
you
one
know.
day it was in the 3s, and the next days it was in the 5s, and then all of a sudden it was in 7s by October. We were like, what just happened?
Well, and I think, obviously, the one thing that I know is there's going to be days that interest rates go down. There's going to be days that interest rates go up.
Yeah.
And kind of like what this last year showed, like kind of taught me, is that pocket of opportunity to refinance. It may be a small one. And if you're somebody who's trying to time buying perfectly, you're not going to time it perfectly. It's better to at least get your foot in the door, and you could time a refinance well. You can, you can't make the stars align where the seller accepts your offer right away within an hour of you deciding that you want to buy it in hopes that you could lock your rate in that day. It's just not going to happen. So
on that take, what is your prediction for refis in 2025?
well, we've seen a wide, obviously throughout last year we saw VA interest rates at the lowest point. I had people at right around 5.5%. At the highest point, I had folks that were between 6.75 up to 7%, depending on different things in their situation. I think that I'm seeing a lot of people right now, because of how much equity they've gained, taking equity out to pay some of their other high interest debt off. So I've had a lot of folks who have done things like fixed rate seconds, home equity lines of credit. Depending on the situation or how much equity they have, sometimes it is beneficial for them to do a cash out refinance. But I am seeing a lot more folks tap into their equity right now, because what's the average interest rate on a credit card is almost 30%.
Yeah, it's insane.
You know what I mean? And student loans are back in repayment. And
Well, and auto loans have been, 8s, 9s for a
Yep.
couple of years now?
Oh yeah, not yet. Even up to at some points even 10%, even for pristine credit. I mean, it's right now I'll tell a quick story if that's okay. I have a client right now who I'm helping him take a fixed rate home equity line of credit, or home equity loan, fixed rate home equity loan out on his home. He's paying off his debt. It's about $70,000, and with including the new payment, he's saving $1,900 a month.
Holy crap.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, so I would say when it comes to refinancing, there's going to be pockets for the people, obviously not the ones who have the 2% and the 3% to lower that.
Yeah.
But, if you bought in the last couple of years, there's going to be those pockets in those windows, and for you to lower your payment. Make sure that you're paying attention to your insurance, because homeowners insurance has been going up pretty drastically. So make sure you're paying attention when you get that renewal. And
Oh, yeah, mine just went up. It's crazy.
oh, absolutely. And you get a notice before you get something from the mortgage company that says that your payment is adjusting based on an increase.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're paying
Insurance
attention
and
to
taxes, yeah.
Yeah, make sure you're paying attention, especially to the insurance side, because other than sending you something in the mail, they're not calling you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to end up having to maybe pay a higher amount.
Or find a new insurance agent.
Exactly. So pay attention to all these different things, because they do make a huge difference. But
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen prediction-wise for home prices in 25?
Well, one of the things that I appreciate right now is anybody who's buying a house right now has gained the confidence in the stability of the home values. Does that make sense? Whereas in 2023, there was, different people thinking that it was going to be 2008 all over again, right?
Yeah, it was
it
gonna
was just
crash,
some
bottom was gonna fall out.
serious hot takes, right?
Yeah.
People who are looking to buy a house right now, I feel like there's a lot more confidence. The people who are entering the market, there's a lot more understanding. But the other thing as well is we've been seeing interest rates over the last couple of years sit above 6%, right? It's been consistently above 6%. And if I had a nickel for every person that was like, oh man, I want to wait till rates come down. And 6% doesn't sound so good when you had a 3%, but 6% sounds dang good when you were looking at 7, right?
Yeah.
But what happens when we start seeing 5s?
Affordability is going to go up.
Affordability goes up. More people have more confidence because of what the news is saying. You know, even though they don't necessarily spread facts, they will say, "Hey, mortgage interest rates are plummeting," and what's going to happen when? Right now, like to your point, hey, Prescott has 20% more inventory than they had a year ago, right? Okay, so now you have more of a selection. Interest rates go down, and I'm not here to say or cause pandemonium. I mean, I'm going to be here, and you're going to be in this industry for a very long time. I don't care if you're buying tomorrow or in 4 years from now. I'm going to be here.
Exactly.
But one of the beautiful things is there's only 2 times that the value of something matters, and that's when you buy it, when you sell it.
Yep.
I could speak to that as somebody who has XRP, right? Hey, I freaking held that forever, man. Thank goodness, man.
Good for you.
But the other thing is, crypto's going through a little bit of a bull market. People, you know, especially the younger generation, a lot of people invest in crypto. And at the peak of the bull market, hey, maybe you take that money and use it as a down payment on a home ahead of rates going down because there's 20% more inventory in Prescott. There's 1% less in Prescott Valley. There's if the news changes its tone and rates do go down, it's going to be harder to get the home at a decent price. Right now, there are some houses that are accumulating days on market. They're kind of sitting. There's what I think is an amazing thing is buyers have the ability to really negotiate, right? And buyer's agents have the ability to really negotiate and get things like concessions to maybe do different buy downs, temporary buy downs, permanent buy downs, whatever it may be to lower the payment.
And discounts on houses. Houses that have been sitting on market anyways.
Absolutely.
It's been on market for a week. Good luck. But,
absolutely.
We are seeing, though, I'm seeing more consistently over the last 6 months, sellers willing to negotiate the price down because the house has been sitting on the market for longer.
Well, and I want to get your prediction, but can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because you obviously you work with sellers. You know, I help their transactions go through, but I don't work directly with sellers. One of the things that I noticed, just kind of an outside looking in perspective, is in 2020 and 2021. It's a very different strategy now when it comes to listing a house, I would say, because it was almost like you wanted the market to drive the price up in 2020 and 2021. Does that make sense? Like, say you...
Well, that's what happened.
Absolutely.
We were listing prices at a realistic value of what they were worth, but because there were so many buyers flooded the market, you had buyers competing and driving the price of those homes up. It wasn't the seller driving the price up. It was the buyers competing and having, there was one I had 8 offers on. And I think we sold it for $30,000 over back in 2001. And you don't have that today. Well,
and I think what I'm also seeing is, and this is just outside looking in, I think I'm seeing houses, that aren't priced well, accumulating a lot more days on market.
Yep.
And as a person who's not a real estate agent, I'm like, my first thought kind of goes to, man, what's wrong with that, right? Looks like a beautiful house to me, but it's been sitting on the market for 100 and some days. So as a seller, you have to be weary of that. You have to be like, okay, we want to price the house to sell it. Because I almost feel like if you price a house too high, you're actually going to end up selling it for less than if you were to price it right up front.
Yeah.
Because it's going to accumulate a lot more days.
That's correct.
It's just
that's what happens. But the thing is sellers don't think that way. Sellers still have the mentality of 22.
Absolutely.
And of like, oh, I have a really nice house, I'm going to put it on the market, I'm going to get top dollar for it, and buyers are going to fight over it. And then 2 weeks on the market, when they haven't any showings, they start to realize it themselves, because no matter what we tell them as agents, most sellers, there's some sellers that do listen,
Absolutely.
but a lot of sellers and just people, homeowners in general, have their own ideas and concepts based on what they experienced in 22, and they think that's the reality today in 25, but it's not.
Yeah.
And they don't listen when we tell them it's not the reality. Not most of them don't listen, and we can't price their house. The seller prices their house at what they want for it. We can advise. I put numbers in front of them. Like, if you want to sell your house, I'm gonna give you everything that's sold in your neighborhood in the last 6 months that is similar to your house, plus or minus a bedroom, plus or minus a couple hundred square feet, and some features. And then with that data, I'm gonna say, the average of all these is X. Your house is the average. Your house should sell for X.
Yeah.
And then you're going to come back and say, well, I want more than that.
That's
That's what we're experiencing anyways.
well, and this is just again, I speak for myself again, and it's outside looking in.
You're
but
a homeowner. You can speak for yourself.
I have
You might be a seller someday.
Well, and I think it's almost like a Craigslist mentality. Does that make sense? Like, I've sold a car on Craigslist before. And what did I do? I listed it for more than what I wanted because I knew someone was going to try to get me down.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was kind of that, like, I know that sounds like a weird way to put it, but it's like...
There's a lot of people that have that mentality.
Yeah, or like even like an eBay mentality where it's just like, okay...
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, like this...
Today's Craigslist.
OBO, or best offer, right?
Yeah.
And but what people don't realize as well is, like, when it comes to setting your buyers up on a search, you're basing that on probably price points.
Yep. Absolutely. Every single one of them.
And say you have...
They have a limit.
Absolutely. There's a limit. And so you have a client who wants to go up to, say, it's $500,000. And as a buyer, okay, you have them set up to $500,000. Okay, well, now you're in the other side of the spectrum where you have a seller who you've had a conversation with, and you're like, okay, realistically, we're going to be able to sell this. Market supports between 485 to 500. And so they're like, well, let's start at 525. Well, all the people who had their searches up to 500 now are not seeing that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so now you're not getting the traction. Now you're accumulating these days. So it's just, it's always, it's really important to heed the advice of the professional that you're hiring. That's what I
Well, most buyers don't go into searching with the mentality of the seller will give me 5% discount or whatever they want to come up with in their head. I think our average has been floating around 2 to 3% discount from what the last list price was to what it actually sold for. Not the original list price. Dude, that's at like 7 or 8%.
Okay.
From what they originally listed for to what it actually sells for in the MLS. So
okay. What are you thinking? So what are you thinking that home? I'll tell you, CoreLogic came out with a report today where they are expecting homes to appreciate just below 4% this year. What's your
to the crystal ball?
Yeah, what's your crystal purified water ball telling you?
It 100% depends on rates.
Yep.
If rates stay where they're at and where they have been for the last 2 years, which is plus or minus 6.5% floating around, up to 7, like that 6.5 to 7% mark, I think we're going to see more of the same. In our specific area, I don't think we're going to really see prices go down. The older houses, they're not, well, the houses that have been on the market longer, those sellers do bring the prices down, but that's an artificial price reduction because their price was way higher than market value to start with. So essentially they're coming down to a market value versus like houses being discounted or values going down on homes. Like, so that's take one. Take two is if rates do go down to where you're thinking, which is high to mid fives, which I would, if I wanted to see something happen, that's what I would want to see happen. Because I would like to see affordability go up for buyers, especially first-time home buyers who have a hard time in this market buying a house. Housing affordability I would like to see that happen. If that does happen, though, I think prices are going to go up because you're going to have more renters get off of the couch and be tired of being renters and want to be homeowners. You're also going to have homeowners who have rates that maybe are a little bit better than today's rates, but they're not happy with their house. Like they're basically feel like they're stuck in their house because they have a good rate. If we get down in the 5s, I think you'll see some of those people come off the couch. But those people are going to be a 1-to-1, meaning they're going to become a buyer, but they're also a seller.
Right.
So they're not going to add to the buyer pool because they're also putting house into the market. So they're a wash essentially. If you're people that stay local anyways, that sell local, buy local, they're a wash on their what do you call it? Their effect on the market.
Impact. Okay.
Their impact. There you go. That's a good word for it. Impact on the market. Versus your renters though are buyers because they're going to give up a rental. They're not giving up a house that's going on the market
To be sold.
for another buyer to buy. So they're going to be adding to the buyer pool. Anybody else from out of town that might be selling their house to move here is going to add to the buyer pool. So I think if rates come down, we'll have more people added to the buyer pool. And when you have more buyers in the market than you do homes for sale in the market, that drives the prices up.
Well, and something I kind of wanted to talk to a little bit, and something that you brought up is, first-time home buyers, right? Something that makes me really sad is that the average age for a first-time home buyer is up to 38.
Yeah, I saw that recently.
38 years old, okay? Fannie Mae, which is conventional loan.
That's older than both of us, if anybody's wondering that's watching this video.
Yep, we are.
We are not the norm, but that is definitely older than both of us.
Yeah, that is actually older than both of us. Yep, we are.
Oh, man.
Yep. But that's something that makes me sad because it's such a milestone. Buying a home is such a milestone, and being a first-time home buyer, and obviously right now it can be really hard. But one of the changes that's taking place January 11th that Fannie Mae is implementing is they are going to be looking at being a first-time home buyer as a huge positive, as a compensating factor. Reason being is, and this is also for the sellers out there, if you have somebody who's a first-time home buyer trying to buy your house, just so you know, first-time home buyers have the highest likelihood of making their payments on time.
So how is that going to affect? Is it going to make it easier for them to get a loan, or is it going to drop their rate? What's it going to do for them?
It's going to make it easier for them to get a loan. So say their debt to income is a little bit on the tighter side. It's actually going to be looked at as a compensating factor. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac already did loan level price adjustments to help the first time home buyer when it comes to pricing. But it's really right now it's really important to at least set up a plan. I've had clients that I've worked with for years. I've helped first time home buyers as old as 80 something. I've helped the youngest person I've ever helped buy a house was 19.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
It's impressive. Also, FHA loan limits increased to 524. FHA loan's good for a first-time home buyer because it's only 3.5% down, right?
Yep. 3%,
so at a $500,000 loan, you're still less than 20 grand.
Yes, sir.
For down.
Yes,
which is pretty awesome.
Yep.
So
17,500, I believe.
You want to tell everybody else what you got going on? What's your forecast for Travis Smart, the Smart team at Guild Mortgage for 2025?
We're going to work really hard. We're going to try to help as many people as humanly possible and help amazing agents like yourself be successful, because homeownership is just such, I genuinely am passionate about it, and it's there's nothing better than helping folks, and especially out here because we have first time home buyers, we also have a lot of people who've worked their whole lives, to retire out here. I mean, it's just, I take that so seriously, and I know you do too. And what about for yourself, AZ Rad Realtor? What we got going on this year?
It's, more of the same, man. Just trying to help as many families as we can.
Absolutely.
Whether that be, buying or selling, our goal is always to improve the lives of others through real estate. Typically that's buying because, then you're investing into your future, but also selling. Like, people's lives are impacted and improved when they sell a house and they pocket some cash and they can pay off things like you were talking about, credit cards, vehicles, whatever. It goes both ways. So
especially
so the goal is just to impact and improve the lives of as many people that I come across that want to be helped this year.
Amen. Well, it's going to be a great year, my friend.
Yeah.
Appreciate
so
you.
In conclusion, 2025 predictions, we're looking at probably a more balanced market.
Yep.
Potential for increased inventory if rates stay the same. if rates do dive, or not nosedive, but if they do go down into the fives, obviously we would love that because then it would increase affordability, but it could have an inverse effect on home prices.
Absolutely. When there's
So-
more, supply and demand. Basic
Supply and
principles.
demand. So we'll just have to ride the roller coaster together and see what happens this year.
All right, baby. We're going to kill it.
Right on. Well, thank you everybody
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
watching and sticking with us this long today, and we'll do some more of these throughout the year. We'll do some updates and see.
And we'll make them shorter.
We do need to tell the people how to get in touch with you, though. If someone's watching this and they want to talk to you about home loans, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Smart Choice Lending on Instagram, Travis Smart, Guild Mortgage, Facebook, call, text, Google me, Travis Smart.
Google me.
Google me.
I love it.
Google me. LinkedIn me, TikTok me. Actually, yeah, but don't TikTok. I mean, follow me on there, sure, but please text, call, anything, DM. I'm always here to help. I love helping people. I've had clients that I've worked with for 6 years and gone through every single question over the time. I'm in it for the long haul, and I'm here to partner with you for you to accomplish your goals. So I
Cool.
love that.
I'll drop your contact
All of it,
information
dude.
below.
All of it, dude.
So, all right, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
All right,
you.
brother. All right, dude.